Why are people moving to Portland, Oregon? Well, in this video, we're gonna get into one of the top reasons why people are moving right here to Portland, Oregon. Well, wait, not right here. We're gonna tell you in just a second exactly where we are, and this is one of the top reasons for the great outdoors. I mean, check this out behind us. It's this pristine lake. We're here in Washington.
Yeah, don't be mad. We're in Washington. We're not even in Oregon.
But you know, Vancouver and Camas is all part of the greater Portland metro. So this is one of the ideal things you have to explore. Oregon has the same kind of thing to offer. We have beautiful lakes, rivers, mountains, and we're gonna get right into that in this video. I'm Aaron Cullen, and this is my wife, Brianna Cullen, and we have a local real estate company in Portland, Oregon. And today we're gonna explore the great outdoors and some of the amazing locations that you get to explore just a short driving distance from Portland.
We are right near the Hood Canal, Hoodsport, Washington, which is on the edge of the Olympic National Forest, near Lake Cushman, which is a gorgeous open lake. And then we're staying on this like cute little lake called Lake Kokanee here, right near Hoodsport. We actually, a couple of years ago, watched the Bill Gates documentary, and in the documentary, he showed where he's been vacationing for his whole life on the Hood Canal. And when we saw it, I was so blown away just by the nature and the beauty of the Hood Canal. So we were really curious to come up here and check it out. One of the things about living in Portland or the Pacific Northwest is that there's just nowhere more beautiful in the summertime, in July, August, September, than the Pacific Northwest. And so we like to take our summer vacations somewhere close to home and save our longer trips, air travel, for those winter months when we have to get out of the gray to somewhere sunnier.
I've really enjoyed this trip. I mean, just check out these views down the lake. It goes straight down around the bend. This is a smaller lake. We refer to it as the small lake with our kids, but it's a short 10-15 minute car ride up the mountain to get to the big lake, Lake Cushman. And we've kind of split our time between going between the two lakes. And there's other lakes around too, but those are kind of the main ones that are really close by.
We got the kayaks out on this lake yesterday and took the kids out on the water, and then they're just loving like running around right here in the grass, playing in the water. Lake Cushman also has a great playground area that's all under the shade, and then this beautiful swimming area. And there's definitely more boats and more homes around that lake. But like Aaron said, these are really just representative of so many other outdoor getaways in the Portland area and in southern Washington.
One of the interesting things just about exploring this area, because this is one of the first times I have been to the Olympic National Forest, and having little kids, you know how it can be harder to get around. I'm really looking forward to exploring more of these parks and lakes. So one of the cool things that I liked about this area is how quiet it is. I mean, even here we are, you know, at the end of summer, last week of summer, but it's still so quiet. There's hardly any people around. And you really kind of feels like you have the whole place to yourself.
It absolutely does. There's one guy at the end of this dock fishing, and you know, we've run into a couple of other kids here, and even at Lake Cushman, which is much more of a destination, it doesn't feel crowded. It's very quiet. And then in the there's a couple of very small towns nearby. So I would say, you know, there's enough to go out to brunch or go out to dinner, go into town for ice cream. There's a little toy store, but there isn't much. It's pretty remote.
Yeah, and so if you want that vacation, you know, that has, say, more to do in a town around, you know, you might be better off going somewhere else, but you know, maybe you want to go to Canal Beach or something like that that has a little bit bigger town center, more shops, more restaurants. I mean, going to these places is definitely if you want more of that remote feeling.
Right.
You know, like you're saying, there's really only like one or two places around. But one of the cool things about this experience was there are a bunch of, I won't even call them towns, but there's like a restaurant, a little cluster of a coffee shop, an antique store around the canal, around Hood Canal. So if you're willing to drive, you know, 20, 15 to 25 minutes around the Hood Canal, you can go to all these different spots, and that's what we ended up doing.
Right.
We went to a resort one day.
We went to the Alderbrook Resort, which is really iconic on the Hood Canal. It was my birthday the day after we got here, so we had dinner.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. We had dinner at the Alderbrook Resort, which is really special, right on the canal. They have Adirondacks set up on the grass, and people were having a cocktail. It's just a beautiful old style lodge. And then
I would highly recommend that if you're looking for more of that kind of catered
upscale
experience.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And then another day, a totally different experience. We drove up the 101 to an oyster house that has been there for over 100 years.
Yep.
And they have these little huts.
Hamma.
These little huts on the beach to shelter you from the wind or rain. And we sat in a little hut and had oysters, and the kids loved it.
Yeah, they absolutely loved it. It was so much fun for them.
There was a rainbow over the canal as we were leaving. It felt very magical. And then yesterday we had brunch in Union, a little town with a market and a brunch spot. And as we were sitting out there, there were sea lions fishing. We saw a bald eagle go overhead. So for me, like, this is like as close as camping as I'm gonna get. I think a lot of people moving to the Pacific Northwest are even more outdoorsy than we are, and they're ready to camp and go back.
I would like to camp, but hey, you know, you got to keep the wife happy, and you know, it's a mutual agreement experience. So hey, I'm fine. I'm gonna call it glamping.
He just thinks he wants to camp, but
yeah, maybe not with little kids, but when they get older.
Speaking of glamping, the Airbnb that we found up here is so beautiful. The people had such great design style. It's so family friendly. If you ever want to come here, send us a message and I'll point you to the right Airbnb, because I feel like we really scored.
Yeah, it was really cool. They even had a record player with this great record collection. I mean, they probably have it's probably 200 records. I mean, most of them are original old ones, from Led Zeppelin to Santana, Pink Floyd, Beatles records.
Okay, honey.
I
And
mean,
then they have a garage.
I spent a lot of my time just playing music for the kids, and they got to experience kind of new music and rock and roll. So it's
like a
lot of fun.
lovingly created Airbnb. You can tell it's a home that they use for their family a lot. It's not just like junk furniture thrown in there. It's really, really comfortable.
Let's talk about weather real quick. Right here for where we stayed. It rained a couple of times,
kind of in a surprising way. Like, I wasn't expecting it at all.
And then the other days it was pretty much 80 degrees. So this is, you know, end of summer, end of August. So that kind of gives you a little taste for the weather, but it is extremely, extremely dense forest woods. You do feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere. So it is darker, you know, in the woods here. And you know, something just to keep in mind. And then going to those little spot places, you're not like staying in one big town, but it's kind of what we're looking for, just more of a getaway, more of a camping feeling, even though we're staying in a house.
It's just for the stage of life we're in. The ages of our kids are almost 3 and almost 6. You know, this is more friendly, I think, than doing something more cosmopolitan, that type of vacation. I think as they get older, we'll be exploring, you know, some of the cities nearby. But for this age, being outside, splashing around in the water is really the best.
Oh, and don't forget, if you're thinking about moving to Portland, you got to give me a call. I'm not going to be able to know unless you reach out to me. So go ahead and reach out to me and shoot me an email or shoot me a text and say, hey, I'm interested in moving to Portland. Can I get some more information? Find out what neighborhoods you recommend. Be happy to talk to you. Okay, now let's talk about some other places that you can explore from Portland. I mean, number one, briefly mentioned it, the beach, specifically Cannon Beach.
Well, so Aaron mentioned
Beach.
Cannon, but also, you know, there's so many great little beach towns. We went to Pacific City earlier this summer, Manzanita, Cannon. The Oregon coast is so gorgeous, so definitely an annual trip there, I feel like, is a must. One thing about the Oregon coast, though, is the weather can be pretty chilly and windy, and so it's not like necessarily just a go relax in shorts and flip-flops for a week. You better bring a lot of layers.
Although if you're gonna do it the end of summer, August, September, that's gonna be
typically warmest time.
Your warmest, less windy time to go.
Absolutely, but it's so stunning at the Oregon coast. And also a super fun place because it doesn't get really crowded. There's huge wide beaches with tide pools and whole sand dollars that your kids can find on the beach because that's how uncrowded those beaches are. And just a great place for kids to run through the tide pools and have a lot of space.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, there we'll usually like Airbnb it, but they also have a lot of little hotel options as well. If you don't want to stay there a long time, just do a quick 2-3 days.
So those are more like overnight getaways. And obviously there's many more lakes like this, camping. And then there's also a lot of day trips from Portland. You have Astoria on the Columbia River, which is such a cute little town with cafes and art and just like a good size of things to see.
And then Hood River.
Hood River really feels like a ski resort town. And one of the things about Oregon in general is that we really value good food, beer, wine, coffee. And so in a lot of these places, including here, there's a winery, there's a distillery nearby. The coffee, I was so surprised at how good the coffee at Hood Sport Coffee is because I'm, pretty picky, I will say, about coffee. And so typically I would just make my own at home somewhere like this. Their coffee was so good. And
their coffee ice cream that they had, I mean, I gotta tell you, that was probably the best coffee ice cream I've ever had.
And
maybe I was just had that sweet tooth for it, but it was so good and creamy. Our
local coffee place is Salt and Straw, and in LA it was Jenny's. So we have good ice cream to compare it to. Right. That's a huge compliment.
And here in the Pacific Northwest, you're gonna get a lot of local creameries. So some of these little places that do ice cream, they're gonna get it locally from a local sourced milk and cream.
Yeah, a little ice cream place we found in Pacific City earlier this summer was the cows were out back and the woman, there was chocolate or vanilla and you picked what flavor you want and she just mixed it into that. So she was hand churning the Marion berry ice cream.
Yeah. You'd pick out your berries and then she would, I don't know how she did it, chopped it up and she had these little spoons where she would mix it all in. It was really, really good. So if you do like ice cream, definitely look for these little tiny places, these little hole in the wall places where you're like, okay, I don't know if I can eat ice cream there. Is it clean? Is it sanitary? But try it. And next, let's just talk about hiking. If you just want to get in for local hike, there's so many cool places that you can go to from Portland.
And there's also so many kid-friendly hiking places. I actually just got a book earlier this year, 50 kid-friendly hikes in the Portland area. It's just a really easy way, probably 10 minutes from wherever you decide to live in Portland, that you can get onto a trail or you can get outside. And in the summer months, you could go berry picking. In the fall, you can go apple picking and really just get your family outside.
When people reach out to me, one of the top 5 things that they say for the reason that they're moving to the Portland area is for access to hikes, the great outdoors, being closer to nature. And that is truly what you get. That's been our experience as well. And so if that's top on your list, you can go ahead and not worry about it because you will have the opportunity to have plenty of it. As you can see here, how easy it is. We drove up here and it's like a three hour drive to get here.
And we're as far in Portland as you could be from this
on the south side of Portland. Yeah. All right, everybody, I hope you found a little bit of value in this. And if you're thinking about moving to Portland, go ahead and reach out to me and we can set up a buyer consultation. We can do a Zoom call. So go ahead, give me a call, shoot me a text or send me an email, and I'd be happy to talk to you further about what neighborhood might be a good fit for you. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.